Hi people, and welcome to my program today, and we've got an exciting program as always. Today we're going to be dealing with law firms and the legal sector, and this is my first guest who's actually from the legal industry, and I have for you in the studios Wemys Solicitors, who are actually based in Leicester. And for all of you out there thinking, why have I brought a legal firm into the studio today, there's actually a couple of really good valid reasons. Number one, as a business, if you fall into a dispute, what are you going to do? And there's enough disputes, whether they're internal or external to the organisation. It can be something as simple as that your suppliers haven't delivered goods on time. It could be your business partner isn't actually doing the job that he was meant to do. It could be your staff have various disagreements with you, which could go from maternity leave to an increase in pay rise, or even being sued where things have happened in the car park, somebody's tripped over and they're suing you for negligence which wasn't actually your fault. So at that moment in time you definitely need a solicitor. And the problem, as we all know, that there are with solicitors is that they actually speak an alien language. You present your problem in whichever language you want to present them to, and the answer you get back is something that you can't always quite understand. So today we thought we'd dispel some of the myths. We'd bring in a firm which I'm quite happy to say are the top solicitors in the UK. And there's a reason why I say this, and the reason for that is for the countless awards that they've won, because they were going to be talking about all of their awards, and also their achievements in terms of they are currently, their clients are from the Times 100 Rich list and other high profile celebrities as well, from the world of media and others. So please let us take this opportunity, because it's definitely an honour and a privilege, to welcome Karim, who is the CEO of Wemys Solicitors. Hello.
Hi there.
How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
We're absolutely fine, and I know in the studio we've created quite a stir because everybody has some kind of question for you. So we've just about made it upstairs here so we can ask loads and loads of questions. So,
fire away.
So the first question is, just so our viewers actually understand, your credibility and your reputation nationally and possibly internationally as well that you have. Let's talk about your awards, and in particular the excellence in client services that you had last year. So can you talk about that? What was all that about?
Well, last year was actually probably our pinnacle year, because we were shortlisted for 5 national awards. Which is unprecedented in our profession. And thankfully, not only did we win 1, but we won 2 awards from the 5, one being the prestigious Excellence Award in Client Service. Now, this is a national award, so it's put our firm on the map in terms of the service that we're offering. But in addition to that, it also gives us that belief and that motivation that what we're doing out there for our clients is being recognised. So that was a great achievement for us and the firm. And in addition to that, I was also highly commended as Leader of the Year for the legal profession. So out of the 5 awards that we were shortlisted for, we came away with 2.
And let's talk about the Law Firm of the Year award. Well, how did you go about winning that? How did that come about?
Well, we were informed, this was back in 2011, that there were, the Law Society were inviting entries for law firms to put forward applications as to why they feel that they've changed the way that they provide their service, and also why they feel that they should be awarded with this prestigious accolade of Law Firm of the Year. So we made the application thinking, us as a firm, we're a very boutique firm, so we're not one of the big 4 or the big 5 in Leicester. And we were shortlisted within a matter of days, and then we decided as a firm, and that was something that I did, something to be proud of, just to be shortlisted. So what we did was, as a firm, we decided to take the whole firm to the award ceremony. And that was a great bonding exercise for the practice. And lo and behold, we ended up winning the award, which was, again, it was a great sense of satisfaction for us as a firm, but also for me personally, because next to me were my competitors, which are, majority of the winners that normally walk away with this type of award are your really large firms who are able to, because of the size of their practice, make huge strides within the industry, because they've got deep pockets, they've got departments which just focus on development, marketing and strategic planning. So us as a small firm, and I'd probably say that we're probably the smallest firm to have actually walked away with Law Firm of the Year. So again, great satisfaction and great achievement for us.
I mean, also Samir was recognised as the Midlands top 42 entrepreneurs.
Yes.
So what was that about?
Well, the Insider magazine, which is based in the Midlands, and that's where their publication is targeted, they were targeting a group of entrepreneurs under the age of 42 who they would like to write a profile about. And again, a great achievement for me was that they chose me, and I think I was the only lawyer in the category of under 42, and it was the reason why it was special for me was because I was recognised as a businessman as opposed to just a lawyer, because within our profession, it's quite easy to see yourselves as just a lawyer and not understand the concept that you're still running a business. And I think the way that we have tried to run our business over the last few years, that's what was recognised, and that was what was actually profiled in the magazine. So yeah, again, very, very good achievement for me.
So people, you can see the amount of achievements and awards that Samir Karim himself personally and also his company are winning. But Samir, there must be something really unique about the way you innovate and provide. At the end of the day, legal services is a highly regulated industry. So how do you actually innovate within the legal sector?
One thing that I've always said to the industry, and I've said to my own team, and when I'm discussing what we are doing out there as a law firm, we're very prohibited in what we can actually do with our service, i.e. we're providing legal advice. So that's something we can't change. That's the law. So that's set in stone. But one thing we can do, and this is something which we've become very ambitious with and very innovative with, is the way we provide the service. So now every service industry, they can't change what they provide, but they can change the way they provide it. And that's what we've really concentrated on. So as a law firm, generally speaking, most lawyers are very conservative, very set in their ways, and they have a clear set direction as to how they will see a client, how they will charge that client, and how that client then has that service ongoing and in what form. What we've done is just do everything the opposite. So the way that we see our clients is again different. We don't have this set regime of having appointments. We don't have this set regime of having that conservative approach with our clients. It's very, very relaxed, it's very open, it's very informal, and it's almost working in partnership with the client. So you're seeing it more as a joint partnership as opposed to just a transaction. Right. And we've tried to get rid of these bugbears that lawyers are renowned for. The bugbears being that, hourly rates, invoices, left, right and centre for even just picking up the phone.
Yes, we all know that feeling, don't we, people?
And, I personally, I'm one of the biggest critics of my industry, because I feel that if you're going to make a service accessible to the masses, what you can't do is put these barriers in front of the client. Because what that does is it actually doesn't allow that client to think clearly or think openly about engaging in business. So, if a client comes to us and says, I need to get these conditions, contracts, terms of policies of trade, whatever it might be, in place, if you provide obstacles to him, i.e. costings, formalities, lack of accessibility, that person won't go into business because of the anxieties of the costs, the anxieties of what lays ahead. We promote that. So we say, look, don't worry about the obstacles, let's help you, let's go into business with you. And it's just taking that slant that, my policy and my terminology with the team has always been observe the masses and do something different. So we observe the masses of law firms going in one direction and we go the opposite.
Fantastic. And people, I hope you're taking loads of notes here, because actually legal disputes in this country cost around £33 billion. And legal services obviously have a charge, for the professional service that they offer you. It's around 6 billion, so it's very much lower than the actual cost that costs the business in terms of staffing, in terms of like revenue lost, and especially when you don't have contracts in place. That's when the real misunderstandings kick in. And if you haven't got contracts in certain instances, it's actually a legal requirement. So before you know it, you're in court and the costs have just gone through the roof. And that's why we thought we'd bring in the top lawyer for the country who can actually talk about all of this, and we can go on asking him loads more questions, because you've all been messaging me loads on Facebook as well. So thank you people for that. So let's talk about your last couple of days, weekends, and what you do.
Yes.
Well, I understand you're in Thomson Reuters in London and doing webinars.
That's correct. This is a repeat attendance now at the studio. I might have to change the way I, my profession, should I say. But no, I was in London last week because I'd been invited by Thomson Reuters, which are a global company, and they are now holding webinars for the legal industry. And these webinars are focused on the industry as well as the changes within the industry and what law firms should be doing in order to meet those changes and meet those demands. So they chose us as a firm to actually give advice on how law firms should provide their service and in which ways those services should be provided. And because obviously we had won the award for client service and excellence in client service, they asked me to go down to London and to do a studio appearance. And it was a great experience, because one thing I realized is that actually the actual perception that people have on lawyers is not great.
No, it's not. They do have a bit of a poor reputation.
And it was only when I started, well, just explaining to what we've done. So, some of the things that we've launched recently, like mobile legal services, which, in a nutshell, is lawyers on wheels. So we go out as lawyers to see clients at their premises, at their office. And this is sort of the major thing, is that we don't charge for that service. So we will go and see a client at their office, spend maybe a morning with them, but we see that as an investment as opposed to something we should be making a charge for. And when you start saying this to the public, it's like, really? Is that what lawyers do?
I've never heard of such a thing, so it's really good that we're hearing this from Samir himself. And
so I did this webinar last week with Thomson Reuters, and it was a great experience. And also for us, as I keep saying it, we're a law firm now, which is we're now firmly on the map in terms of what we've done recently. But now we're getting recognition further afield. So not only are we getting recognition with the National Law Society, we're also getting recognition with global institutes. Thomson Reuters are a global institute, and they pinpointed us as being someone who are a visionary law firm that is looking to change the way legal services should be provided.
And the next question I bring on to is you are highly commended at the Young Directors Award. So do you want to talk about that? What happened there?
Yes, that was via the Institute of Directors, the IOD. Again, I was approached by the Institute of Directors, which again are a national brand, which are focused on directors of business. And I was approached by the Institute of Directors to submit an application for the Young Director Award. And again, when you enter into these types of awards, notoriously they go to entrepreneurs who are in business. They don't go to lawyers, accountants, bankers, professionals, because they're not seen as entrepreneurs, they're seen as professionals. And to then get highly commended, I was told that it was a stiff competition, and I got highly commended for the category. It was, again, something which I take great pride in. And as far as I've been made aware, and I might be corrected on this, but I'm the only solicitor to be highly commended for a Young Director Award as part of the IOD. Fantastic. So again, that's another achievement that I can put on my CV.
Fantastic. And it's not just the only achievement, because I understand you've been shortlisted for the MS DAC Awards as well. I was reading that on your website this morning.
That is right. That is right. That's something which is being held at the Grange Hotel in London on the 11th of October. We've been shortlisted for the award for responsible business practice. Now again, this is something which we were actually shortlisted by the Institute. So there was no formal application process that we needed to do. What we needed to do was actually put ourselves forward insofar as, look, this is what we've done, this is what we've achieved, and then the shortlist process took place, and lo and behold, we're on that list.
People, it's pretty obvious to me that they're very, very hardworking, himself and his team. What I want to know is, what motivates you?
I'd say the desire not to fail.
Okay.
Now that's probably a strange answer, but you know, when I took over the practice in 2008, in April 2008, I was faced with this recession, you know, and it's an unprecedented recession, what we've gone through and what we are going through. So April 2008, I've taken over this business, which had, you know, great reputation, great client base, great team, but then within 4 months, everything's now taken a complete reverse. So there's no clients, there's no reputation, everything goes down the drain because you've been hit with this mammoth recession, and before you know it, you're facing a challenge which is greater than any other challenge you're going to face in life before. So I had a testing time then as to which way do we now turn to make this business not just successful, but to survive. You know, it got to a very bad point at the end of 2008 where survival was was literally the only thing that we had on our minds. So I'm now, you know, I can thankfully say in the last year to 18 months, not only have we turned the corner, but we're now, you know, going through our best year since to date. We've grown, we've almost doubled in size in the last 12 months. We're in the process of growing more. So it's that turnaround that actually allows me to define what I get motivated by. And what I get motivated by is not just, you know, the pound notes that you might achieve, because, you know, that can come and go. But it's the desire not to fail, you know, and that for me is success.
I mean, I'm sure all our viewers do want to know that, although you've touched upon it, but how were your early days of actually starting up? And I know the recession, you know, everybody has had to change their practice or been forced to change their practice because of the recession. But, you know, in your early days, I mean, when you started off with your legal degree, let's talk about that. What made you choose your legal degree over other courses that you could have done? And, you know, how were those days?
I think I was always inclined to choose law because of my own personality. You know, one thing that I'm a great believer in is try to align with your strengths. So if you have a strength in speaking to people, establishing relationships, dialogue, automatically you will then be able to narrow down what professions you will excel in. So law was something which was at the top of the list. So it was almost something that I went into without hesitation. I made that decision very early on in life. Thereafter, it was very apparent that not only was I a great believer in me becoming a lawyer.
Gonna have to stop you right there, because people, as you know, we do this every single week. We like to stop at a very, very high point, so we want to make sure you come back to us after the break. So please do join me when Samir can go on and tell us about his educational qualifications. So see you in a bit. Hi people, and welcome back to my show. And it has been a very interesting half an hour leading up to this break, and we've got the legal industry in the studio, and we have Douglas Wemys, the CEO, Samir Karim, who's talking about his achievements, because there's quite a fair few to get through. They specialise in litigation, which is all to do with disputes, especially when they arise from negligence or other wrongdoings, but also in issuing them as well. The legal, the bill from all these disputes does cost around £33 billion a year, and legal fees are kind of like making up £6 billion of that. As a business, it's very, very easy to get yourself into disputes, right from internal to the organisation and external. So we'll just catch back up with where we were with Samir before we went for the break. And we were actually talking about his degree, his law degree, and we were just at a very high note. Samir, if you could just take it back up from, you were talking about your law degree and then going on to other courses that you were on.
Sure. So when I was studying for my degree, one of the main things that I realised immediately was that not only am I equipped to want to do law, but ultimately you start thinking about how you can start to apply your legal knowledge and maybe start looking at it from a more of a business angle as opposed to just a legal angle. And that I realised that in myself right from day one. And it's probably a culmination of things, i.e., you know, I come from a business background, i.e. my family's into business, so maybe that's something which is instilled in me as a person. So I felt that those are my strengths. So, you know, qualified as a lawyer in 2003, trained at a very large practice in the Midlands, and then went on to get headhunted by Douglas Wemyss Solicitors to head up their litigation department, actually. And within the space of 2 years, I ended up not only becoming a partner, but actually taking over the practice. And that was something, as I mentioned, in 2008, April was my milestone date of taking over the firm. And it's been, I think, my saving grace in terms of what we've done as a law firm has been that we've not just run it as a legal entity. You know, we run it as providing a service for our clients, but we also have to have, and it's paramount, that you realise that running it as a business is just as important. And that's what the recession taught me as well.
I'm sure we will be getting on to the part of what services they offer and all the rest of it. But first, I'd like to know, you know, you have won awards for your innovation, your community investment, your business development and client services. And really, you're working also in a very, very competitive environment, especially within the legal industry. So what factors do you take into consideration when you're marketing your organisation?
I think what we make sure is that, you know, as again, I repeat what I say in terms of lawyers generally are notorious for being very set in their ways. I call it almost a dinosaur approach. And, you know, for hundreds of years, law firms have been established in this country, but they haven't changed. You know, and not only have we been forced to change because of the recession, but the other reason why we need to change, and we've had to change, is because our industry has changed. As of 2007, what came into play was the Legal Services Act has come into play as of last year. It's a 2007 Act. Now, what that's allowed is for the big brands like Tesco's, Co-op, you know, the Virgin Medias of this world, to set up legal arms within their own businesses so that they can now deploy and offer legal services. Now, as you can imagine, that can be a bit of a threat to our industry.
Yes.
So within our own industry, if we're not changing the way that we provide our service, and if we're not changing the way that we actually deal with our clients, these retail brands can actually start to have an impact. And that's something which us as a law firm, we realized this very early on. And 2 years ago, we set up our own, well, I think it's the country's one and only legal retail shop, which was set up in one of the most, you know, the busiest community area in Leicester. We set this up in 2011, in January. And I would say that's been one of our biggest success stories, because not only has it allowed us to offer services which the likes of Tesco's and Co-op can and will, but it's allowed us to stand toe-to-toe with these guys, because I'm a firm believer that as a law firm, we have that heritage and we have that pedigree, that we are lawyers and we know what we do, we're great at what we do, and we've been doing it for generations. So now when you get the likes of Tesco's that come in and try and step on your patch, they can't say that that's the only thing that they do. They do a variety of things. So are they experts? Well, it begs the question. We are. The only downside is that do you then offer that accessibility that Tesco's does? That's where the legal shop model came in, because we're now offering the accessibility and that retail approach.
I'm glad that Karim's giving the big boys, the supermarkets, a run for their money, because we all know what happened to the corner shop industry.
Absolutely.
It kind of like failed. Wherever there was a big supermarket opening up, all the small little shops around the vicinity all were forced to close down because they just simply could not compete with the supermarkets. So I'm glad you're doing this. But talking about your legal shop, can anybody, like the likes of myself from Nottingham, if I was shopping, visiting family, can I just drop in? Do I need an appointment? How does this legal shop work for everybody who's watching?
You can drop in. It's 7 days a week. It's open till late. It's catered for the private individual. So it's catered for the person who needs advice on the spot, whether he decides to drop in or decides to call up to pick our brains and get some legal advice. And this is, again, the cream on the top of the cake, which is it's free. It's free advice. So what we always say to anyone who comes into the legal shop, that, look, this is unlimited free advice, but as soon as you get us to put pen on paper and actually instruct us, that's when we talk about charging. But again, the charging methods that we offer at the legal shop are retail. So it's packaged products. So a typical example, one of our products, which was something that we innovated when we launched the legal shop, is called the life support unit. And it's a product. And what that does, it encompasses a will. So everyone needs a will. It encompasses a lasting power of attorney, which is, in effect, is if you lose the capacity to have control over your estate, the lasting power of attorney kicks in. And it also encompassed within that product is a will review. Now we've packaged that as a product, where you would normally go to a solicitor and buy that or get that service on an hourly rate. We've packaged it so you can almost buy it off the shelf. And you know, as I've said, it's retail. It's bringing the retail concept to legal services, and that's something which not only was it required by us to do because of the recession, but it's been required by us by our industry. But unfortunately, most law firms don't actually understand the need to change the way that they're providing the service.
People have had an absolutely amazing time researching Douglas Wemys' activities. And there's quite a few of them. We have the mobile, well, we have the legal shop, we have mobile services, we have packaged services, and we have the out-of-hours service. So how do you combine and do all of this work?
Well, thankfully, I'm working with a great team which shares my vision. And you know, the other thing is that when you start offering something which is unique and innovative to the market, you not only are acclaimed by what you're providing and you receive the accolades, but you gain in visibility. And it's that visibility which then motivates your team. So you know, the team have been motivated tremendously over the last 2 years. Because of the fact that we've won these awards, we're always in the local press. We're on the internet. We're on social media. We're very active, and that helps with the motivation. So what becomes then a one-man mission becomes then a collaborative involvement, and you know we all chip in. You know, so I'm sometimes at the legal shop on the Sundays. You know, you have to lead from the front, and I'm a firm believer of that. If I'm not prepared to give up my Sundays, how can I expect my team to? And that's something which we've done collaborative. And you've got to create that team atmosphere and that team camaraderie. And that's something that's been done. And it works. You know, I'm a firm believer that if you're there with a positive attitude and you look things in a forward direction, it becomes infectious and contagious, not just within your own environment, but within your team's environment. And that's what's helped us.
I mean, people, it's really good to have a really good team behind you, and it's really good of like Samir to talk about all of these things, you know, right here on our show. But you know, with the legal industry, it doesn't really have the best of reputations, and some of those reasons stem from overcharging. If any other solicitor has to pick up their phone, if they have to call you back, if you posted something, if they have to open up a letter, let alone write you one. I mean, the charges are absolutely extortionate. And then when they actually start speaking, when you actually get through to them on the phone, because they're so busy in court, not in office, when you actually speak to them, they actually speak in a totally alien language. You have absolutely no idea what they've actually said to you. So what are your views regarding this and your industry?
Well, coming back to the alien language, it's, again, something which I personally cannot understand, that when you're sat in front of your client, the first thing that you need to be able to do is understand your client and their business. Once you've understood their business, then you need to be able to relate to them. Like I said, it's working in partnership. Now, if you're reeling off legal verb, case law, statute, these are not things that you should expect your client to understand. What you need to be able to do is say to them what impact that will have on their business. So again, I'm probably repeating this, but you need to be wearing not just your legal hat, which we're all expected to do and we can do, but wear your business hat, wear your entrepreneur's hat, because if you can sit side by side with your client and understand what are the key areas that that client wants targeting and focusing on, and what are their main concerns, what are their main objectives, and then apply your legal brains to it, but it's understanding the foundations first before you then go forward. Then it makes sense. Then 1 and 1 doesn't add up to 4, it adds up to 2, because that client understands. You've taken him through that journey of saying, look, this is where you are as a business, and this is where you need to get to, and this is how the law applies. What sometimes happens is that the lawyer goes straight into the law, but hasn't actually taken him on that journey of the commercial reality of it. And these are things which are not difficult for us, because a lot of the people that I've actually taken on board with me over the last 4 years, I've made sure that they understand business, as almost it's almost a mandatory requirement for me. I look at their credentials as lawyers. Let's face it, if you're in the profession, it's without doubt that you're going to understand law and you can actually provide that service. But what becomes a marketable person to me is someone that can understand business. And it's a rare breed in our profession. It is a rare breed, but I think it's the only way forward.
My next question is, I understand with the legal industry and everything that's going on with them, but where do you see, Douglas Wemys? What is your vision for Douglas Wemys, say in perhaps 5 years' time?
See, my policy is, in the last few years where we've now been able to really make strides within our industry, my policy is to try and offer and bring legal services to the masses, open it up to the masses, because again, there are a number of obstacles which are out there which prohibit that. So this legal shop concept that we've come up with, this retail approach, it has to be replicated, and it has to be replicated, why not on a national level? So we are in the process of speaking to a number of investors. We're also speaking to other lawyers who have that entrepreneurial edge to say, look, this is working. It's been an absolute success story for us. Let's replicate it. So we're already in talks to replicate it around the Midlands, but we're now thinking about taking it much more wider than just the Midlands. And that's where I see Douglas Wemys, the brand, being known for. I assume that in the next 4 to 5 years, a majority of the firms will have to change the way that they offer their services. But if we are in there first, which we have been, then that retail approach hopefully will be tagged next to the Douglas Wemys brand as opposed to the Tesco's brand or Mr. Law Firm next door. And that's what I want Douglas Wemys to be known for. It's the branding that has to go side by side with the concept.
I mean, you do have some very high-profile companies who are from the Times 100 Rich List, as well as celebrities. So how do you attract this client group?
I've always said that the way that you can attract clients is, one, you need to be able to relate to them. That's number one. But two, that kind of pedigree of client won't even take a look at you unless, one, you are offering excellent service, two, you're offering great value for the service that you're providing, and three, you're going over and above what their current provider is offering. So what we did was we started to market the 7-day week approach, which is what we offer. We offer great expertise, specialists in areas which we know we excel in, which is litigation and property. Those are the areas that we excel in. And also, the other thing that helps us is that a majority of these high net worth clients are based in city locations like London, Manchester, Birmingham. And let's face it, you know, the legal fees in those areas are not something which you can just ignore. They're very expensive, and that's where our advantage lies, because we're able to offer competitive rates, because we do the work in the regions. But then when you tag that with the mobile legal services, so we're going to see the client at their office at no charge, it's a win-win situation. And that's what encourages that client to then jump on board.
Right, people, as always, you know, we come very close to the end of our program and we wonder where the time's gone by. But just a quick few things I want to say before we do end this program, and that is, do log on to Douglas Weems' YouTube. Seriously, people, this is my top tip for you guys. If anybody's involved in a dispute or needs some legal advice, if you can't obviously get yourselves over to the legal shop in Leicester, they do actually offer free legal advice right on their YouTube channel. So that was extremely good. I was absolutely amazed. And from my point of view, because I myself am a heavy user of social media, during the course of researching this program, I understand that in America, they do actually use your Facebook, your Twitter, your YouTube as evidence, either in favor of you or against you in court. So when and if that ever does transpire in the UK, and I'm assuming it will transpire at some point, because whatever happens in America tends to follow suit back in the UK, people, do be aware of what you do on your social media. You definitely don't want it working against you, especially all those companies who are solely internet based. So Samir, I'd just like to firstly thank you, but also ask you for your last message to all our viewers, any top tips you can give them, any messages for our viewers, and especially, you know, all your supporters that are watching you today.
Sure. I mean, I would say as a starting point, see the alternatives. Generally, law firms are tagged and tarred with this brush, which is they're very expensive, they're very unapproachable, they're very conservative, very set in their ways. See the alternatives, because there are alternatives out there, not just us. I mean, we like to say the pioneers of the new direction. However, it's great to see what is on offer, and then you can then try and see whether that offering fits your requirements. So that's the message I have to the viewers today.
Thank you, Samir, for coming on our program, and thank you everybody for watching, and do be with us next week.